G'day there guys, scared that the CIA confirmed that aliens exist here? Back at it again with another episode of r/AmiTheA. Now if you love me like I love you, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, a like on the video, and enjoy today's bloody good content. Posted by user, Maybe Mother-in-Law. Titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to support my son's pregnant girlfriend until she takes a paternity test? My son, 24 male, and his girlfriend, 24 female, have only been together for 6 months, and she is apparently 4 months pregnant with his baby. They've actually been friends since high school, and so my husband and I have known her for a few years as well. She is a lovely girl, but honestly, she's not someone I had hoped would be the mother to my first grandchild. First of all, she's a recovering drug addict and alcoholic, and while she says she's been clean for 3 years, a relapse is always possible. She only finished high school with her GED, and she now works as a waitress full-time. Her parents died years ago, so she is largely on her own. Our family is considerably better off, and my son is joining his father's business, meaning his salary will be quite high, and will only continue to grow. Since my son first told us she's pregnant, it can't escape my mind that he may not really be the father, and that she picked him out of potential others because he would be the best in terms of support. My son is pushing us to help her with some of her pregnancy expenses, and I told him we would, under the condition that she get a paternity test first. He completely blew up at that, accusing us of disliking her, which is untrue, and not wanting to be grandparents, also untrue. He says that he loves her and trusts her, and that he can't wait to meet his baby. I get that, but I think he's being idealistic. If he wants our support, we want a paternity test first. If the baby is truly his, then we would be happy to welcome her into our family, and we would be happy to help her out. Am I the a-hole? Going on the thought process of you judge yourself by your intentions, and you judge others by their actions, it's pretty clear that's exactly what's going on here. It seems to me that the son feels like he's being attacked, that they don't support the partner because of the actions of paternity test before we help you out. They can justify that afterwards if they'd like, but right off the bat, he's going to believe, hey, they don't trust me and my partner, they don't actually support us. Why does our support have to be contingent on a paternity test? Why do they think my partner would be like that? It seems unnecessary and very rude for the family to do that. I'm sure there's relationships where that would be a thing that people would want to do, but this really doesn't seem like it. The woman has lost both of her parents. She's recovering from drug and alcohol addiction. Now, sure, this could be a situation where you want to put it in that frame where you're saying, you know what, we don't want someone like that in our family. But does this woman need to be judged and kicked out of her family first with a child on the way that could well be your child? Do you want to put your child in that circumstance? There's a lot of factors at play here, and I feel like they're going about it in the worst way possible. So, because of that, it's you're the a-hole, but I can see why people would think not the a-hole. Edit. There are 7k replies to this post, and over 200 private messages in my inbox that I can't reply to. It's a pretty even mix of you're the a-hole and not the a-hole, so clearly the only thing everyone can agree with is that it's complicated. I've gotten messages to kill myself, I've gotten messages calling my son an idiot, and I've gotten messages from the MGTO, Men Go Their Own Way, subreddit, telling me that my girlfriend is clearly a lying sociopath. I have also gotten a lot of messages from men who found out their child wasn't theirs after several years, who wish they had found out sooner. It's a lot to read and a lot to think about. Many people have called out my attitude towards this girl, and I'll be honest, it is making me think. He completely blew up at that, accusing us of disliking her. Untrue. Reread the first part of your post. Even to internet strangers, it's pretty obvious you don't like this woman. Right off the bat, you aren't being truthful. You're the a-hole. Agreed. You're the a-hole, your son loves her and wants to be with her, and believes this is his child. If you have the money available, and would have helped if it was someone you approved, then support your son and his soon-to-be family. No one is saying throw millions at it, go into debt, or write them into the will. ETA, something I just commented below, Would OP want a paternity test if the situation was different, if the girl hadn't been drug addicted? Exactly. If the girl was poly purebred with a perfect pedigree, would OP have asked for a paternity test before helping? Not to mention, asking for a paternity test now is questioning the integrity of the people involved, son and girlfriend. And in no world does that not make the OP an a-hole to them. There are too many other variables going on. They've known each other since high school. Who knows what kind of relationship they've had, or how much the son tells OP. It's irrelevant if they've been friends with benefits and started a relationship, or have been friends for years and started a relationship, or had a one-night stand that turned into something more. They are already past the first trimester. They're in a relationship, they're having a baby. Son asking mum to help out with a few expenses, not the a-hole. Mum declining to help because she doesn't feel comfortable doing so, not the a-hole. Mum/OP putting the stipulation of a paternity test before helping, a-hole. Why does a 24-year-old, who's going to be working for his daddy's company, need his mum's money to pay for his child's? This reply should be way higher. It's all I could think reading the post. I don't think OP is the a-hole for not wanting to support their adult son's child. That wasn't the question though. OP is definitely a spoiled classist a-hole. They're accusing the girlfriend of cheating because she didn't grow up with rich parents. And she had a drug problem 3 years ago, likely when she was dealing with the death of her parents? Like, seriously. It sounds like she went through something unbearable and took drugs to cope. Then came out the other side, got clean, got her GED, and is working hard to support herself, all while not having her parents there for her. Having lost my dad at the beginning of this year, that kind of loss can seriously destroy you, and I can definitely see why that sort of pain would lead to drug abuse. Someone else says, in regards to the Youre The AHole, I don't think I've ever disagreed with the top-rated AmiTheA judgment more. It's clear OP has doubts about this girl's parenting ability, which is absolutely fair because she has a difficult history, and she got pregnant less than a year after dating OP's son. Rather than saying, well, there is no way in hell we're going to get behind this one, OP is giving their son a chance to bring them on board by showing some definitive proof that their relationship is in good faith. A lot of young people tend to believe their partners to a fault. We're in love, declares the young man with a partner of 6 months. OP is old enough to have a son in his 20s. They've probably seen some crap. Being willing to support a child only when they are with a partner you feel you can trust doesn't make you an a-hole. Good parents don't subsidize bad decisions for fully grown offspring. I couldn't agree with this more. The amount of blind faith and support this thread has for the girlfriend is so bizarre. In a perfect scenario, he's the father, she continues to remain clean, and they live happily ever after. But I don't think it's completely outrageous for OP to demand a paternity test before financially and emotionally committing to this girl and her future child. Not the a-hole. Also, want to call out that a GED is no less a feat than a high school diploma. They are functionally the same, and in some cases have more requirements than a high school diploma. I respect an ex-addict with a GED who works full-time to support herself without parents to fall back on over a kid making a great salary because of nepotism. OP and the son sound lucky to have her in their lives. Edit. Did not expect this to be my most controversial Reddit opinion, but I just want to add to it. I am a privileged white woman with a master's degree, and I've met tons of people like me throughout my life. But if you're ever around someone who has had to fight and claw their way out of hell and into a meager existence, shut your mouth for 5 minutes. You might learn something. This is 100% what I was thinking as I read this. I admired this poor girlfriend more and more, even written from the perspective of OP, who clearly looks down on her. She's totally on her own. She's been clean for years, she works full-time, she got her GED. Sounds like she's worked hard to get her life on track. Sounds like she's doing better than most of us would under the circumstances. I doubt the OP would do that well. She sounds like a keeper. Update. Am I the a-hole for refusing to support my son's pregnant girlfriend unless she takes a paternity test? I received a message asking for an update, so here we go. After my original Reddit post, I talked to my son and asked him what kind of financial help he had in mind. According to him, since she does not have insurance, many of her medical costs were adding up, and he wanted to help her with those. A lot of people asked me why my adult son was so reliant on us, but to us, that's not unusual. He's a recent graduate, and while he will be making a decent salary soon, he's just entered the workforce and does not have much in the way of savings. Plus, our family has always believed in helping each other out. If my daughter was pregnant, we would no doubt help her. I expressed my desire for the paternity test for his benefit, but he would not budge on that. I tried to warn him of the countless stories of fathers duped into parenting children that weren't his, but he was certain. A couple weeks later, his girlfriend actually reached out to me herself. We met up, and she told me she was embarrassed he had asked for financial help on her behalf, as she did not want to take any assistance. This surprised me, as I assumed that she was the one pushing for the money. She was uncomfortable with the paternity test idea, but she said she would look into it if it bridged the peace between me and my son. With COVID, the paternity test never ended up happening. It just wasn't a priority. Over the past few months, I've been talking with them more and more, and my husband and I bought them a substantial gift for their new home as a gesture of apology and goodwill. We did offer financial help, but my son refused it. By the time the baby was born, I had gotten to know his girlfriend better and was warming up to her joining our family. She truly is a delightful young woman, more so than I gave her credit for. The baby was born 7 weeks ago. It's a boy, and my son is absolutely thrilled. I've not gotten to meet him yet, but I have gotten to see him over video chat and in photos. He looks like my son. It's not an exact resemblance, but I can see my son in this little boy's face. Enough that paternity doubts are firmly in the back of my mind. Truthfully, I've fallen in love with this little boy, and watching my son grow into becoming a father has been the proudest thing in my life. If I had missed this, I would have never forgiven myself. I'm so glad that you've been able to look past your misgivings and give your son's girlfriend the chance she deserves. I hope your mind stays open and that love finds you and yours in all its forms. Same. I feel like often a lot of AmiTheA end up just having mother-in-laws and daughter-in-laws getting off on the wrong foot and just going downhill. This is proof that sometimes if one side just offers an olive branch and the other stays open-minded, everything works out. I'd love to know where all your assumptions came from. Why did you assume that she was sleeping around behind his back? Why did you then assume that she chose your son to be the father because of your wealth? Why did you assume that she was the one asking for money? All your baseless assumptions really landed you in hot water. I must also say that my daughter's grandmother did the same exact thing to me. She based all her assumptions on trash that her son had talked about me. We were no longer together, told me I was promiscuous, and demanded a paternity test before my daughter would be included in any family money. My daughter was 18 months old at the time and strongly resembled her father. It hurt me very deeply. It caused a huge problem in our relationship and made it very difficult to communicate with her in the future. She did come around eventually, and our relationship improved. She has passed now, but she was a wonderful grandmother, and I'm very thankful to her for that. You owe both your son and his girlfriend a big apology. Please think before you jump to conclusions. Those are some incredibly hurtful things to say, and I'm glad you're feeling more comfortable, but I really hope that you apologize directly to your son's girlfriend. I promise you, she needs to hear it. And OP says, yes, I made assumptions and they were entirely baseless. I saw my son in a difficult situation and I panicked, and judged her, when really, my son was as irresponsible as she was. I've gotten to know her better over the past few months, and I was wrong about her. I have apologized, and when I get to see them in person, I will apologize again. I really want to believe all of this, but your son going from needing and wanting you to help to pay for pre-birth medical costs to now having a new house in a short time, which requires money, just rings odd in my honest opinion. If true, kudos to her for her recovery after losing her parents. still getting a GED at least, working full-time to support herself, and being a better person to you than many would be under the circumstances. And OP says, they didn't buy the house. They are renting. Rental prices dropped with COVID to something in their range, whereas medical costs were much higher. The last one that I could see here about OP, someone said, why not just do a paternity test anyway and see what happens? And they say, I would not do that behind their back, not after everything. Posted by user Drew Dog the Druid, titled, Am I the a-hole for not sharing medical history before being pranked? Man, this is a throwback. Some of you guys might remember this one, but a lot won't. Heyo, I'm a schizophrenic. Started when I was 22 and will last till I die. I'm active in schizophrenic communities, go to groups, the works, but I'm fairly private about it to most people, to include friends. It's fairly common for people to think I'm eccentric, as it comes with the turf, due to some of my habits. Those habits include not going to parties or other places with lots of people, suddenly deciding not to do something. I have to be protective, not to do or go to certain things if I think a delusion might be coming on, saying the occasional odd quip, normal schizophrenic stuff. Some friends thought it would be funny to make it seem like I might be going crazy as a group. They would individually wear something like a wizard hat or a dinosaur costume, the T-Rex blow-up costume, to a group event, or say something totally out of the ordinary and pretend like it was normal. Oh, police like to track people like you. COVID's just a way to microchip you, etc. These are very real scary thoughts to me. I would ask members of the group if they had heard concerns about these conspiracies or weird garb from the other members, but they all acted like they had hung out with that particular member that day and I hadn't been involved. I was really, really scared that this could have been a massive delusion morphing into a full psychosis. So I preemptively checked myself into a hospital to stop myself from potentially hurting myself or diving further into the rabbit hole, which is common in the schizophrenic community. I was so scared my medication stopped working. No one heard from me for a few days while I was in the hospital, and when I checked out, I confided in one of them about what had happened. I got a really long apology explaining what had happened, and I blew up at them. I have ignored attempts from the others trying to apologize and have no desire to talk with them again. Am I the a-hole for not previously stating that I am schizophrenic? And like before I said, no. It seems like what they're doing to you is very serious, and you did the right thing for putting yourself in hospital, admitting yourself, and getting the help that you needed. It's a very brave thing to do on your part, because especially given your condition of schizophrenia, it's not easy to differentiate reality from a delusion. I would imagine, that's me speculating, that's not me saying that I know this. This is me being empathetic, and I do hope that OP is getting better from this. They sound like a toxic friend group, and I would do my best to avoid them. Friends shouldn't keep something going on for so long if they're seeing it have such a negative impact on you. I feel like someone needs to come and extend an olive branch in that situation. Edit. People have been asking, saying to post the length of the prank. It was around 3 weeks. Resources that I find helpful are the r/schizophrenia subreddits. For groups, just Google schizophrenia support groups in my area. Something will pop up, and when you actually get there, someone will have a further list. You get what you put into groups. You don't have to talk your first couple of times, but no one will look at you with that bat crap look if you say, reality check, is there a bird in the room, or something in that regard? That did happen once, and the audible sigh of relief from 8 other people, and the laughter that followed was hysterical. Medication helps so much. It's the difference between being able to go for a walk with my dog and staying in bed all day. But it takes time. So many people have asked what drug and dosage a loved one should go on. I cannot answer that. There are so many drugs out there in different dosages. I can tell you that you probably will not have a noticeable difference in behavior in 2 weeks after trying a medication. You start small, and you work your way up to a therapeutic effect when it actually helps. It might take some time to actually get to feeling human again. Not every medication is meant for every person, but don't give up. And now to some comments. Not the a-hole. Even if you didn't disclose your medical history, they knew enough that saying those things would screw with you. If a prank doesn't leave both parties laughing, it isn't a prank. It's bullying. A prank is leaving plastic flamingos on a friend's lawn or something harmless like that. That wasn't a prank. When it comes to pranks, confuse, don't abuse. One of my friends would prank the other by putting a bunch of sporks in her yard when they knew that she wasn't home. It was hilarious. She included candy canes for Christmas, flamingos during the summer, and eggs during Easter. It went on for a year before my friend came clean and admitted that she was the sporker. See? Now that's a good one. Confuse your targets. One of my best friends in high school drove 2 towns over to my house and ding-dong ditched me. I open the door, and there's a paper lunch bag filled with tiny plastic flamingos. To anyone reading this, if you've got silly prank friends like these, you hold tight to them and never let go. I realize now that I've always hated pranks because I didn't know any good pranksters. Your friends sound awesome. Another comment to OP says, "Oh honey, this breaks my heart. My partner is schizophrenic, and it's hard enough on its own without some support group of a-holes deciding it would be fun to collectively gaslight you. Please go with your gut and never talk to these a-holes again. As far as whether or not telling them ahead of time makes you an a-hole, maybe in some alternate reality where schizophrenia stigma didn't exist. Also, I have never heard of a group of friends doing this particular prank en masse, so I don't know how you could have anticipated this happening, because for the most part, this doesn't happen. I'm proud of you for going to the hospital when you felt that you needed to. That's a hard thing to do. A lot of people look back at the friends they had at your age and can't believe they ever put up with such an immature pack of a-holes. You'll meet better people, and hopefully some of your ex-friends will learn a lesson and become better friends in their futures." I don't know why, but your comment just gives off mum vibes. Yeah, I'm not a mum, but I'm really protective of younger people going through the same things as people I love the most. Update: Am I the a-hole for not sharing my medical history before being pranked? Heyo, I had a few folks message me over the last couple of months, the latest tonight. It touches me that so many of you still message me to see if things are going well, so I wanted to update people en masse. Life is going phenomenally. I axed the friend group and have since been kicking butt. I realized that if my close friend group was consistently putting me down or taking advantage of me, who else could be? The biggest answer was myself. I stopped doing things I enjoyed to invest in people that took joy in hurting me. Turns out, it went so much deeper than gaslighting. I got 2 new hobbies, woodworking and brewing. I absolutely love them both and have made friends in those communities. I started cooking instead of takeout, and I met the woman who is now my girlfriend at the local supermarket, and we do most things together now. I realized my job had been taking a huge advantage over me. I worked significantly harder and longer hours for less pay than the employees under me. After I transitioned to taking better care of myself, I created a resume that outlined my successes. Recognizing those successes took quite a bit of effort, and got a new job in higher management for significantly more pay. I'm also going to buy a house this December with a yard for my dog and I. Nothing big, just a nice 1-bedroom with a large yard for my buddy and I to play fetch in. So, thanks Reddit, owe you one. Never would have made life improvements if it weren't for an external force. Wow, I absolutely remember your original post as someone else who struggles with mental illnesses. They were so completely out of line, but never forget who got you out of that dangerous situation. You. You have been working on living a stable life long enough to know that something was off and your health was number one. Keep realizing your worth and living a kick-ass life. Absolutely this. OP should take full credit for the steps he's taken, and I fully respect him for taking those steps, as they must have been difficult, and it would definitely have taken a lot of courage on his part. Leaving a friend group, no matter how toxic they may be, is always a hard thing to do, and I respect him even more for having the courage to do this. I'm really glad that he's found and pursued new interests and hobbies. OP is fantastic. My half-sister is paranoid schizophrenic. When she was 16-ish, she was convinced by my Pentecostal grandmother to get off drugs, prescription medications, and move away and work Teen Challenge. About 10 years later, she came back into our lives, almost like a mildly rabid animal. She had been through a lot due to being unmedicated for that decade, not the least of which was brain damage from a television being thrown successfully at her head while she was being robbed. She now resides in a nursing home. Due to the above, I have no idea what a functional schizophrenic is like. OP or anyone else, would you care to elaborate, even mildly? Absolutely. 100% going to have triggers for anyone that is sensitive. Okay, if you are sensitive to this, I suggest that you don't listen to this part. It is quite long. So, I'm going to be totally transparent. At first, it totally destroyed my life. I was 22 when I was first diagnosed while I was in the army. At the time, I had just made sergeant and completed an army field trip. I was doing great things. My troops were killing it, and then I started hearing voices. At first, I just tried to drown out the voices with alcohol. Then it got to harder stuff like cocaine, Molly, other 3-day drugs. I wasn't really depressed per se. I loved life, but one day I just had enough. I had a fantastic plan. I was going to empty my bank accounts, donation to the Alaskan Zoo near where I was stationed, and a couple of other places. Eat lunch at my favorite ramen place. Walk around downtown, eat at my favorite restaurant, which is Orso's, and then blow my brains out down by the mudflats. I had pre-scheduled text messages that were supposed to be sent at 9 p.m. to my boss that explained what I had done, and that my stuff was packed up in my barracks room with letters to friends and family. One of them sent early for some reason. Thank God, and he called me. I went to the hospital for a week, and was immediately ostracized, lost my position, lost my troops, and was not allowed to be near my friends. My commander had no idea what to do with me, so I stayed in limbo for a few months. In those months, I had 6 attempts at going to a behavioral health clinic to get medicated. I finally just asked for a chapter, which is when life really started after getting diagnosed. I went back to my parents for a few months, got on medication, and then moved to Arizona to be somewhere warm. It was rough. Really, really rough. I had troubles holding down jobs for 6 months, couldn't pay bills due to being broke, and ate ramen once a day for quite some time. I got a dog during that period, and that's when life really started to turn around. I made friends, the group previously mentioned in the last AITA, go to regular groups once a week, 2 times if I need it, and began working in hotels. It was a natural fit. Finding a job that I could naturally fit in and do is paramount for recovery, as it gives hope for the future. This makes me so incredibly happy. Good for you. Also, OP, can we hear how you and your girlfriend started dating? I'd be lying if I'd say I'd never imagined meeting a future partner at the grocery store, and I want to live vicariously through you, lol. So, it was at the local Friar's grocer, and I was totally lost looking at the baking supplies that I needed to make pastry with. Evidently, I was taking quite a bit of time because this woman asked if I was feeling okay. I laughed and said that I was trying to make a phyllo dough for a pastry dish, and wasn't totally sure between the types of flour and baking sodas/powders and all the other things. She laughed, offered to give me a family recipe, and gave me her number for her to send the recipe. The rest is history. She offered a family recipe to a complete stranger? I'd like to think my shirt that day was rather dapper. Alright guys, that's where I'm going to end today's video. I really do hope you enjoyed it, and maybe even learned something that you didn't know before. If you haven't already, please do feel free to click that like button, as it really does help me in the YouTube algorithm. And if you haven't already and you love today's video, please feel free to subscribe. I would love it a lot. Also, big shout out to all my Patreon members and channel subscribers. You guys are all up on the screen right now. I love you. I love your faces. Also, I love seeing you guys all chatting down below in the comments. It brightens my day to see the stories that you guys share and just the kind words you guys always have for my videos, as well as everyone else in the videos. I love you too. But honestly, your ongoing support means the world to me, and I just love it so much that you guys are able to support a career for myself that I invest so much time into. And you guys honestly motivate me to work harder each and every day to put more love into the videos for you guys. If you guys have watched this far in the video and you haven't already subscribed on Patreon or become a channel member, that's cool, you don't have to, but there are links down below. You can donate any amount of money, pledge that any month, cancel whenever. I'm completely cool with it. It's just there for you to support me if you'd like to go the extra mile. And I'll go the extra mile for you guys by putting out new amazing content every single day. With that said, guys, I really hope you have a good day, night, sleep, bath, time at work, whatever you're up to today. This has been Markee. I'll see you in the next amazing video. Bye.